Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Strawberry Shoggoth and this is Trulon, the Shadow Engine. Now this is a JRPG-like released on Steam. So let's take a look at the settings first of all. Now resolution and window mode can be set in the launcher prior to actually getting into the game, and as you can see, the settings menu in-game is fairly limited. It's basically background music, which we will lower a bit, sound effects, language, which I'm not going to change since I tried it before, and changing language in the menu instantly changes all the language prompts in the menus. We have a few post-processing options like ambient occlusion, bloom, color grading, anti-aliasing, vignette, and dither. So basic stuff, but you don't need that much for a game of this style. So I'd say it's about what you need. Now you can see already here in the menu the quite nice aesthetics. I like the art style. I do enjoy this type of style, so I think I will be enjoying this game quite a lot. But well, how about we have a look at the actual game. Now, since this game is first of all newer than the other ones I looked at, and secondly it actually has a price and not free to play, I will probably take a bit deeper look than just the first 15 minutes just to make sure I can give a decent representation of the game before giving a verdict on whether I like it or not. So there will probably be some jumping around in the rest of the video to show you different parts of the game, and quite possibly it might be a bit longer than usual 15 minutes. With that said, let's jump into the game. Okay, so we start off with a introductory cutscene, which I will cut a bit short because frankly it's quite long and I prefer to talk about the gameplay instead. Now it's a very typical JRPG-like start, in fact that you start out in your home as presumably quite a, well, a rather young person at least, and then as the story progresses you move further out in the world. I played about, well, I'd say 1.5 hours or so of this before I made this video, so I still only took a look at the beginning of the game really, but at least I had a chance to see most, well, quite a few things at least, and experience a couple of minor boss fights and so forth to get a feel of the game. Now something that's a bit interesting is the fact that you only really have 3 equipment slots, but you also have these tactics. Now the combat in this game is somewhat deck based, or card based rather. Here's a combat tutorials. You see I have on the left I have the cards I've drawn, and on the right you have certain always accessible options. Now this, in the tutorial you don't really have access to one card to draw, and then you have, after that you have the wild card, so every turn you will have a wild card. Instead, let's jump forward a bit and I'll show you a bit more complex battle. Now as you can see I have a couple of different card possibilities or tactic possibilities. I also by this time have a party member who is a healer slash magician. So now here every turn each of them have 3 possible cards, tactics, until of course you run out of tactics, because once used, they're used for that combat. You can't use the same tactic card again. You can, however, have multiple copies of the same tactic card in your deck, which becomes a bit of a problem at occasion, because I forget to edit my deck, so you might go into a boss fight having lots of AoE attacks in your deck that's really rather useless against a single target. Now, as you can see, this combat isn't going very well and my healer is knocked out. This means he cannot be healed. He can, however, be revived. Unfortunately, at this stage I don't have revive, and at the stage where I'm in the game, he is the only one that can revive, so it still wouldn't be much help. As I said, this is me getting beaten up quite bad, because frankly I didn't really play this combat properly. There, yeah. So there is a challenge to the combat, and while it's somewhat random with the tactical draws, it's not completely random, because you have a couple of them and you actually have a choice. So this was my first real defeat, and as you can see here, which is really nice, you actually respawn right before the combat happens, so you can always choose to go another way. Now here is a second try after I've gone around and killed some other monsters. So I leveled up and got access to an additional item, which, yeah, as you can see, my assault tactics, which is a chosen random every combat. My assault tactics will stun. So I start out by stunning one of the major threats of this fight, immediately making it a lot easier actually, because that's one AoE attack I don't have to take in the beginning. And yeah, also, as you can see, my mage has healing, but my goal this time is to remove one of the threats as soon as possible to lessen the incoming damage as quickly as possible, because frankly, an enemy with 10% health still deals damage. So it's better to kill off at least one as quickly as possible, instead of trying to use area effects on all of them, at least in a fight that is challenging. Now here we use, as you can see, a quite nice area effect, however, to finish off the wounded enemy and also put the other 3 at a decently low health. I'm still not using heal, because frankly the heal is quite a powerful heal, so it's not really that useful while above 50% at this stage in the game. However, a stun on my healer could have become a problem, but yeah, not when there are only 2 of them left, because frankly they can't kill anyone before the stun wears off and he has a chance to heal. As you also might have noticed, the cards you have in your, or the tactics you have in your hand, doesn't change until you play them, so I know I will always have that heal until I use it. Now here I choose to heal mostly to show the heal. As I said, it's quite powerful, and both my characters are back to full health before finally finishing off this annoying beast. You see, you gain experience here, my healer levels up, and we get a reward. Generally you get rewards for all combats in the form of, well, so far tactics. And here is a boss fight. This is a situation where I should have removed my area of effect cards from my deck, but I didn't, so I will have to use quite a lot actually of pointless attacks, because they're still not doing more damage than a single target attack. They're just wasting space in my hand. So yeah, start off by you doing some pointless things like the arcane avoidance, which means that your character is immune to all your characters are immune to the next magical attack against them. But as it turns out, this bear actually uses no magic. He hits like a Mack truck, however. So as I said, I have to spend my area of effect attacks simply to draw new cards, if nothing else, because they aren't really that useful. They're just attacks when there's only one target. And as you can see, this boss has a decent amount of HP. And as far as I've gotten in the game, most major fights, all the bosses I've met have large amounts of HP and are quite hard to deal with. At least partially quite hard. Well, yeah, they've been challenging, I have to say. Everything, well, not everything in the game has been challenging. There are some trash fights which are quite easily won, but you kind of need to do them anyway, so you can get more rewards, so you can build a better tactics deck, so you will have an easier time against the challenging fight. Generally, the fights that are challenging are the ones that have at least 3, preferably 4 monsters, or boss fights with 1 monster. Now, some monsters are a bit challenging even if there's only 2 of them, but that's usually only the first time you meet them until you know how they act and what type of attacks they have, so you can better prepare and know what to use to survive them. Once again, a new nice reward card. Now let's take a quick look at the the map here. As you can see, I like the aesthetics of this map. And here we can see a bit of the village. As you can see, actually every single NPC I've met so far has something to say. Now, most of it isn't exactly relevant, but at least they're saying something, which is nice. They have a bit of, it adds a bit of life to the setting, the fact that people actually have things to care about. And here we have, well, this really swag mayor. Top hat, monocle, gigantic mustache. I mean, what else you really want? And the most suspicious looking character so far must be the lady we're meeting here. I mean, seriously, can she be anything else but evil? And that's my dear mage, who really can't shut up because he's still quite young, I think, and very eager. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's a sinister lady if I ever seen one. She's clearly planning something. And that's our main character, but we've seen her before. Now, other than that, what is there to say? There are some random encounters on when you're out on the world map, but they're optional. You can choose to not investigate, although you might miss out on some treasure, because I have also had random encounters that have simply been a treasure chest and some free experience lying around in an empty area. So it depends very much on what you want to do, if you're just trying to get to your goal as quickly as possible or not. But yeah, in the end, I'd have to say I'll give this game clearly thumbs up. I think it's worth playing, even if I haven't completed the game yet. But as far as I've gotten, I find it interesting, I find it enjoyable, and I like the element of randomness that the tactics cards add. So that's what I have to say about Trulon. Now have a nice day.